Hi, my name is Kirsten Kimura. Welcome to the Balanced Vibes podcast. If you're ready to quit the black and white approach to health and fitness, this is the podcast for you. There's no room for extremes and all or nothing thinking. We are here to talk about real health, sustainable diet and fitness, positive psychology, and spiritual growth, helping you become your own biggest superfan. Welcome to the show. Before we get started, remember that I am not a doctor, and the content in this material is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding your health. Hey everybody, welcome back to the next episode of the Balanced Vibes podcast. I am your host Kirsten, and today I'm here with my guest, Vicki Agnew. Hi Vicki, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Nice to see you.
Yes, you too. So Vicki is somebody who has an amazing story recovering from overtraining and undereating and all the problems associated with these two things that I have recently started calling burnout, because I think that describes it really well. Vicki, you were really, really burnt out too the first time we ever got on the phone. Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Yes. I reached out of desperation.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And now, geez, I don't even know how much time has passed since the first time we ever talked. And then, of course, we went back and forth a lot. But you have had your periods back, and everything's much better for several years now, I would say. Is that true?
I've probably I'm probably gone on to about 18 months of periods, I think.
Okay.
It was November 2018, which is,
Yeah. Okay. So
it'll be 2 years in November.
Yeah. It's gonna be 2 years, right? And just knowing you, how you were before and who you are now, you have made such a 180 in your thinking, your training habits, and mostly your thinking, which is the reason why I really, really wanted to have you on, because every time we talk, you tell something that absolutely blows my mind. I'm like thinking, this is not the same Vicki anymore. And before we started recording, you said too that I almost don't even recognize this person who I was before. So yeah. I'd really like to get into everything today. You are also a personal trainer, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're a personal trainer. So of course, going through all this puts even more pressure on you, because as we all know, personal trainers have this they have to look a certain way and all that kind of stuff. So why don't you tell everybody how things started for you? What was the point where you realized that, okay, something is wrong about my health, and what got you there?
Well, basically, and this is where I was thinking about this morning, because this is where it's probably quite strange, because it didn't start for me until I was well into my 30s. Now, I was not a dieter. I'd never been on Weight Watchers or never been on any of these Slim Fast things. I'd never actually been on a diet. But when I was in my 30s, when I was 35, I had my little boy. I've got one little boy, and I put on quite a lot of weight with my little boy in my pregnancy. In UK, we call it stones, but there's 14 pounds in a stone. So I put on 3 stone. So 14 times 3. And when I had Rory, my little boy, my husband took a picture of me, and I was holding him as a baby, and I was horrified at the picture. And then I thought, right, that I need to lose this baby weight. And I had always been a bit of a runner, kind of, for 15 years, 20 years before that, on and off. So basically, I bought a second-hand treadmill for £80, and when he was sleeping or in his baby bouncer chair, I'd just run a little bit, and I was doing couch to 5K, and I noticed that the weight was coming off, but I did have a C-section and things, so the weight fell off quite quickly anyway, the initial weight, and then it sort of stopped a little bit. But I noticed that the weight was coming off, and I thought, oh, this is great, and I was only running maybe 5 minutes and then walking a bit and running 5 minutes. And started to lose weight. And I won't ramble on too much about that, but then what I started to do was notice the weight was coming off, and then what happens is people start saying, you look great. Mm-hmm. And that's then food for your addictive mind, if you're sort of like me. Then I started to discover my Fitness Pal. Mm-hmm. So I started I was running on the treadmill. I was also putting food into my fitness pal, and just being aware of what I was eating and that kind of thing. But then I started to realize, well, there's that many calories in chocolate cake, so I'll actually have something else. And then the calories started to become all consuming, so I couldn't go over a certain amount of calories. So you can see where it's starting to. And I was losing weight quite quickly. Now, Kirsten, you've seen my my fitness pal graph, and when I say quite quickly, it actually nosedives.
Yeah, it was quick for sure.
Yeah, it was quick, and the addiction and the obsession, I think, was quite quick as well, but more quick than I realised. So I was sort of getting myself into this obsession. And then, of course, my running started to ramp up. So I started to do 5Ks, and then I did a 5K. And I'm quite a good runner, and I'm quite a quick runner just because of muscle fibers and just the type of body that I have. So it went from 5Ks and then went to 10Ks, and then I was starting to run 5Ks really quickly, and then I was wanting to do 10Ks really quickly. And then I said to my husband one time, I wonder if I could do a half marathon. And you can just see how it starts going. And then I was doing marathon training. So I did a marathon, but in my marathon training, I would be doing all these training runs, but not replacing my calories. So I would always have a calorie counter watch on, a fitness tracker. And for example, if I burned 1,200 calories on my run, I would only replace about 600 of those calories. So I was always in a massive deficit.
Was it intentional? Was it intentional?
Yeah, I would probably say it was. I would say it was out of fear of replacing those calories.
Yeah.
And my running was definitely not. It wasn't for self-care. It wasn't for time out. I told everybody it was for time out. I told everyone that's my me time, because lots and lots of people, I don't mean that to sound facetious or to mock anyone that says that, but lots of runners say that's my me time, but really with lots of runners, that's their calorie burn time. And I was doing that as well, and I was telling people that, but I would say I was scared of replacing those calories because I wanted to see it on my fitness pal. I wanted to see that big green surplus that I had, and you never want red numbers on my fitness pal because then you're over. So it got really, so I had my little boy in January 2013, and I ran my first marathon by May 14. So that's going from having had a C-section with a very big boy actually, to then running a marathon from, basically nothing. And that's where all the weight went. So it looks like a roller coaster on my my fitness pal.
Right. Yes. Yeah. This is so true. What you said, that a lot of people say that, oh, this is my me time, but actually there's this need to control actually something. Totally can resonate with that. It was like justification of like why I'm doing so much. And I mean, of course, if you actually want to have good times, like if you want to race well, then this type of training is necessary, but also the right way of eating is necessary. So if you want to train, sure, but also replace your calories, because your energy matters. You can't get faster or better if you don't put this energy back into your body that you burned. So at one point you also got into bodybuilding type of things, wasn't it?
Well, yes, I was just thinking that as well. So I wasn't just running. So I'm trying to think. I did Edinburgh Marathon, and then I did Loch Ness Marathon. So that's up in the Highlands of Inverness, of Scotland, near Inverness. And it was the most horrific experience, because 2 miles into my 26 miles, I was starting to have chronic knee pain, and I'm so competitive, and I had already set a personal best for my marathon in Edinburgh in the springtime. So I ran that in 3:43, and I wanted to beat that. So I'm quite a quick runner. I'm obviously not the quickest, but I wanted to beat that, and I was 2 miles into this second marathon in the fall, and it was just excruciating. It was awful, and it took me an hour longer to do it than my Edinburgh one. I had terrible pain in my legs, and it was. So I decided to go into the gym and strengthen up after seeing a physio, because she said to me, "You've basically run, and you haven't used any of your muscles. You've not kept your muscles strong. Because I just thought, I wasn't a PT at that point either, I hasten to add. So basically I was just running to burn calories and to get better at running, but I wasn't doing any kind of cross training or strength training or anything. So I hid away in the gym for the winter and ended up getting in tow with a PT. And the personal trainer that I recruited to be my personal trainer, in the end I realised was out for his own gain and his own pictures, his before and after pictures, and was pushing me really, really hard. Now, you don't need to push someone with an addictive kind of exercise brain very hard anyway, but he started to see that I was getting very, very lean on his programs. And he was saying to me, let's try and get to, it wasn't essentially bodybuilding, it wasn't really bodybuilding. I could have gone into that if I wanted to, because I got so lean. And he was saying to me, right, you've started at 24% body fat, which is perfectly healthy for someone of, you know, I'm 5'7". And he said, so let's try and get down to 20. So you tell somebody like me, let's get to 20. So what I try to do is like, well, let's get to 18.
Yeah.
So when he measured me, when we were supposed to be going for our 20, I was 16% body fat. But he was also telling me to just try and cut your carbs, keep your carbs really low, eat lots of leafy greens, dark greens, lots of protein, take these shakes, take these supplements. And I was just sucked in by all of this because the compliments were absolutely flooding in about I've never had a six pack. I'd never had abs before. I'd never been so light, and the scales were everything to me. The scales were, the number on the scales was very important. So I was getting much, much lighter. Again, I don't know the conversion really from pounds and stones and everything, but I was too light for my 5'7" anyway. And then he said at the next measurement check-in, so you're at 16, let's try and get to 15. And I was going to Marbella as well on a girls' holiday, and I just wanted to look really good. And I did look good, but then people started saying to me, well, you're looking a bit thin now. And then that's when I would get annoyed with people for that. And I would walk away from that person and say to whoever I was with, how dare they say that? They don't know how hard I've worked. And Kirsten, me and you have a similar story, so I know that you're nodding and I know you get it. So anyway, just before I went on my holiday, I had my check-in and I was 12% body fat.
12? Wow.
Yes. That's from amazing. 24. So that was so I signed him up in the February and I was going to Marbella in the May. So I lost half of my body fat, 24 down to 12, between February and May.
Wow.
Same year. And I went to Marbella and I looked great. I did look good. Lean and six pack, and we went to Ocean Beach and all of that. Had a lovely swimsuit. Was wearing clothes that I've never worn before, small clothes. And then I had a really unexpected, weird period in Marbella. And it won't be like super graphic, but it was very dark and it was very, very out of the cycle. I think it was 2 weeks early, and was there for a couple of days and then just went, and then it never came back. And that was that. On that holiday, that was the last period for 2.5 years.
Yeah. So, and up until to this point, you had your periods all the time?
I had, yeah. And I don't even really remember them being irregular or anything like that. I don't. So I was basically marathon training. I was going to my PT twice a week, and he was trying to get me to go to him 3 times a week as well. But I couldn't afford it. And if I could, I would have gone to him more. So I was going to him twice a week, and I was also doing HIIT training in the house as well.
Wow.
Lots and lots of interval training on this very treadmill behind, like lots of really fast sprints. So I was training 7 days a week.
Wow.
And not replacing the calories. I was probably on 1,300 calories a day.
That blows my mind, because I honestly, I don't think I've ever been on that low calories. And I'm thinking, how did you have the energy? Was it, do you just think it's the adrenaline rush that you get that kind of gets you through all these workouts?
I think so, because obviously I had a little boy as well, and I've got an offshore husband who's away for 4 or 5 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So I just think I just had to keep going. But I don't think you really realise at the time. I think hindsight with HA and burnout and over exercising, I think hindsight is a wonderful thing, because when you look back and you realise, actually, not as much hair falls out now when I'm in the shower, but you don't think that at the time. You just think that's normal. And I mean, I didn't have bald patches or anything, but lots of my hair was falling out. And like not sleeping very well and being cranky, and there's been times where I've been really not very nice to my husband and just said things just they're not very nice. Like there was one time when he took me for an afternoon tea, like, which is cakes and all that kind of thing and stuff for my birthday, and I actually said to him, why would you do this when you know what my training goals are? And I still feel so terrible about that. And he's obviously, he knew what was going on, but it hurt him a lot, and just things like that. And it makes me feel emotional saying it now, because it was something that I was not in control of, and it sounds stupid to say that, but I just wasn't in control of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. There's so many stories how relationships have gone just so bad because of it, because of food, and training has become you and your significant other, and you don't even know how much power you give to that food. And, you know, at the end of the day, what matters more? You know, what do you want to think back later and be like, okay, did I really do this? Did I really say these things? Like,
I know, it's awful.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure he understands and he appreciates that things are better now. So what's past, you know, stays in the past.
Yeah, well, he actually was the one that kind of spotted that I might have signs of kind of body dysmorphia and stuff like that, because he actually told me a long time before I accepted the fact that I probably did. And I just think he just wanted the wife back that he had before I got into this spiral, really.
Yeah.
So he has been very supportive, and he's noticed a lot of things before I've noticed them. But then obviously telling someone that's in that, like I say, that spiral, you don't listen when you're in that situation. No. You just tell them they're being silly, or I know what I'm doing, I'm in control, I can handle it. But like I say, hindsight I think is brilliant, because once you come out the other side, you can see it all, but you've got to trust the process to let yourself get out the other side, which is where obviously then I contacted you, and I just put my whole faith and confidence in what you were telling me, and it was so difficult to just hand it over to someone else.
So what made you trust the process of recovery?
Just the fact that it couldn't go on because of being like narky and snappy to people, and also just being so controlled by food. And it got to the point where there was lots of binges and purges, you know, quite a bit of disordered eating, not being able to not train, like not allowing yourself to not train, not allowing yourself to have a rest day. The rest day is, I actually felt like, it sounds ridiculous, but I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate. On a rest day, I actually felt like I was getting bigger.
Really?
And it's crazy.
It's amazing what our mind can do, right? Because it's only in your head. Of course, physically, you cannot like blow up overnight. Yeah. Even if you ate like I don't know, cake and pasta, you would not get bigger from that meal.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it really was that I knew that the process I got myself into couldn't carry on. And I just really had burnt myself out, and I just wanted to make it, like, to get it to stop and just turn things around. Yeah. And I don't even really remember how I came across you on Instagram. I can't believe it's a year and a half ago either. I think I maybe put in HA, hypothalamic amenorrhea, in a search thing, and I'm sure you maybe came up then. And then I remember messaging you saying, I just need you to help me.
Yes, that's how it was.
It was quite desperate.
Yeah. And then we got on our first call, and you were pretty miserable. You're like, I don't know what to do. I think the period stuff really scared you. That was the one time you told me, yes, like my period pretty much looked like it was black, and I don't know what it was, and it was super scary. And you needed help. So, okay. So how were you able to change your mindset, like going into recovery? Because you knew what's going to happen. You knew that you're not going to probably have your six pack anymore, or you're not going to be able to train the same way you did. You probably felt like you're going to lose control. So how did you deal with this?
Well, I think that, like I say, I just had to put my faith in you and just go with what you told me to do. But I also did want to have another child as well. And that hasn't worked out, but actually that's worked out for the best. I still only have one child. I have had a few pregnancies, and that some of those didn't work out because of the I was going to say the state I got my body in. I suppose it was a state, as in, but that was a motivator as well, because I wanted to get my periods back to get pregnant as well. So there's a couple of different things, but I think that was the main driver, to be honest, to do that. But then I think I just had to put my faith in you and just go with it. And it was really, really hard. I remember the first day that I went out with my son to a country park kind of castle estate thing. And you had said, I think we'd spoken the day before, and you had said to me, you have to eat these calories, 2,500 calories a day. And I went into the cafe in this country park, and there was a sandwich, and it was white bread. It had butter on it, and it was like a ham kind of meat sandwich. And I remember biting it and thinking, you have to eat this. So white bread was a no-no for me. I don't even know why people have this thing about white bread. Butter, I didn't know what kind of butter it was. I didn't know how many calories were in it. I couldn't put it in my MyFitnessPal, so that was a scary thing. And ham was all right. That was kind of a all right food. But I remember biting it and swallowing one little bit of this sandwich, and it felt like I was eating barbed wire. It was like I could barely even swallow it. It was just, it sounds ridiculous, but it was the biggest milestone for me, just eating that sandwich. Sounds really silly. And I actually remember texting my husband and saying, I've just eaten a white bread sandwich. And he was like, and it sounds so stupid now, but it was such a big deal. And that was the first step. And then and obviously throughout the process, I did feel it was very difficult to eat all the foods and all the calories, and to stop just going to my safe foods, because for about 2 years I basically only ate salads, but told everyone I loved salads all the time. And I think in 2 years I've had about 2 salads.
Right. That was kind of like the healing phase for you, where you're just like, okay, I'm going to eat literally like the things that I haven't had for years, the things that I feel like that I really want to, and just like trust the process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you track your calories during that process?
I did, because I wanted to hit the 2,500. I did track my calories because, and I think you and I had a conversation about this, that people say, how can I hit 2,500 calories with the foods that I eat? Because I eat cucumber and I eat salad and I eat, so I was quite surprised how much food I had to eat to hit my calories. But then I started to change to kind of like high fat foods like peanut butter and avocado, and because I did eat avocado when I was restricting, but I would have the tiniest little sliver because it was so high in calories, and I would weigh it. And I remember I used to have about 35 grams of avocado, because that was about my limit.
Right. Yeah.
So I switched to kind of higher fat content foods and stuff like that, and had more oats, but I would have like porridge and oats and things like that with a big blob of peanut butter on the top of it. And that took quite a while to get my mind around how many calories were in that, because my breakfast used to be about 200 calories. That's what I would stick to with breakfast. Right. But then when I started counting my calories, when I was sort of doing the all-in kind of thing, my breakfasts were around about 650.
Yeah.
It was quite hard to kind of adjust to that.
Yeah. By the way, the calorie number is 2,500. This is from the book No Period No What. I want to mention that here. I did not come up with this number, but it's good idea to hit that. And this is not the upper limit. This is not where you have to stop. It's a little different story. If you've been severely under eating and maybe eating like 1,000 calories a day, then it's recommended to take a little bit more gradual approach and do it, more carefully. But if you haven't been eating that low, then you can quite significantly increase your calories. And so you ate this way for how many months before your period came back?
I think my period came back about 6 weeks after that.
6 weeks. So everybody listening. Okay, so here's the thing, and I want everybody to understand, if you lengthen this process just because you are so afraid, you're going to wait forever. So like Vicky got her period in 6 weeks. I have another client who got her period, 2 months and 2 weeks. So that's, what is that now? 10 weeks, right? Total. Yeah. So you can do it quickly if you trust the process. If you keep lying to yourself that I actually still do like salads for every single meal, then that's just lying to yourself. And I don't think you either. You're saying that you should never eat salads anymore. You can still have but have like a side salad. Don't eat salad for 3 meals a day. This is the difference. And like you said, we have to go for food, like nutrient density there. We have to go for the number of, the amount of fat and then real carbs and stuff like that. You're not going to heal if you eat like broccoli and lettuce. It's very, very hard to do.
Yeah, and I would like to second that as well for your listeners, because there are a lot of people that have HA that want their periods back that try to do it whilst maintaining their training and either eating a lot or lessening their training but not eating very much. Try to do it kind of half-heartedly because they still want to remain thin, because thin is what got them into that position. Wanting to be thin is what got them in that position in the first place, and they want to be better, but they want to still have the same body shape, and it will change. And when you were saying that there, it reminded me that I actually went to a private gynecologist to ask him about getting my period back, and he put me on HRT. So he gave me pills to see if my period came back, which I don't know how that even, looking back, I don't know how that was even going to work anyway. And I was on HRT for months. And then he said, well, we'll take you off of HRT and then you might have a bleed, but it won't be a real one because it'll just be withdrawal from the HRT tablets. And as well, they made me a little bit crazy too. And then he said, you need to eat a little bit more as well and exercise a little bit less. And I went, yeah, whatever. So I prolonged that period, I prolonged the recovery for much longer than I needed to by trying to do things without eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to get around it and get my period back without just going all in and just eating the food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So months.
Yeah. HRTs, hormone replacement therapy, for those of you who don't know. And some people have asked me if I should go that route. And in my opinion, of course, I'm not a medical doctor, but as your experience is, Vicky, and from what I've seen and heard, this is like, if you are a woman who should be fertile because of your age, I don't think there's most of the time reason to go on a hormone replacement therapy. It's for older women, maybe menopausal women, they might need that kind of stuff. But if you know for sure that the reason why you don't have your period is because you've been restricting, under eating, overtraining, there's your answer and there's your solution. You have to do the opposite thing.
Yeah, you have to just go all in, because there's not really very many people that can maintain their training and eat just a little bit more and get their period back, because the body's stressing about something. That's the way that I see it. I think you have to just, some people I know that have had HA have said, well, I'll train 1 or 2 days less and eat a little bit more, but it takes much, much longer to then get that back. And really, there's not really a quick solution if you're going to do it that way. The quick solution is just to nourish your body and eat more calorie dense food, and just to wind down the exercise a little bit and just give your body a rest. Your body's under massive stress, and that's its way of telling you that it's not happy.
Yeah.
Along with the hair loss and the insomnia and the narkiness and
yeah,
kind of thing, so.
Absolutely. These are all really, really common signs. So I wanted to ask you if you maintained any exercise routine when you were recovering. What did you do, if anything?
I just walked.
You just walked.
Although, having said that, and I remember you and I spoke about this as well, the first time I stopped all my exercise and just walked, I walked for 7 miles. And then we had a conversation, but I think I then told you that I've now gone from excessively exercising to excessively walking. So I would be out for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe not that. I don't know how fast or slow I was, but it was certainly more than 2 hours. So I thought, oh, I'm not exercising, I'm just walking. But it was a long, long, long walk, and it was probably half of the day that my son was at school. So then I started to realize, right, you can't go for 7-mile, 10-mile walks every day, and that's just replacing one thing with something else. So I didn't do any exercise, I didn't do any HIIT, I didn't do any running. In fact, I didn't run until just a few weeks ago in lockdown. I decided just to go for a little run while my son cycled along next to me. And I've only done 3 since then, little runs. So I stayed off of running for about 3 years. No. Yeah, because I stopped running quite a bit before I got my HA as well. Anyway, so I just walked.
Right. And so now when you got your period back, I remember you were super excited. You even had counted all the days that you didn't have your period. You sent me the exact number of days that after this many days, I finally got my period back. So that's awesome. And then what happened next? Did you change anything about your eating, your exercise right after you had gotten your period back, or no?
No, I just carried on the same. I just carried on still. I think I realized that I didn't need the sort of, I was struggling with the 2,500. I think it took it down to about 2,100, something like that. So I did reduce it slightly, but I certainly didn't. Like I say, that was November 2018, and I only just went for my first run in lockdown, 2020. Yep. So I certainly didn't. I was actually quite frightened I would lose my period again, because I know you and I had conversations about don't be surprised if it doesn't come back the next month. And actually, I did have a 45-day cycle after that. And that's something to be aware of if you're recovering from HA. It's not just going to come back and be exactly as it was before. However, I did expect to have a lot of irregular cycles after that, and it was 45 days for the first one, but then it came back 33 days-ish. And then for a good number of months, it was 30 days, and now I'm down to 28 days, and I've never been 28 days. I've never been a almost like perfect cycle, if you like. So I didn't change anything after that. Like I said, I think I was a bit scared that my period was going to go. So I put in so much, because I went to counselling as well about it. I did, when I say go all in, I don't even mean food. I mean, I just jumped all in. Lifestyle, mental health, eating, all sorts. It was not just, the goal wasn't to get my period back and then go back to my old life. My goal was to change my whole self.
Yeah, that's so important, because if you don't change, if you don't do the mindset work, then you just go back to that old stuff. Because a lot of people, for some reason, think that it's just like one time you fix it, then it's fixed for good. No, of course, if you go back and do the crazy stuff again, the same thing will happen over and over. So that's why it's important to get to the healthy mindset, where you understand that how to actually, for example, use your body in a healthy way and exercise in a healthy way without it becoming an obsession again. And same thing with eating, how to nourish your body, because you want to live your life and you want to have energy. So these mindset shifts are so important. But you did start, you didn't run for a long time, but you did other types of exercise. You did some strength training, didn't you? After you.
Well, I did your program. And that was almost in a way to thank you as well, when I bought your program, because I don't know how to send flowers to America, or send box of chocolates or something like that. So I wanted to do something to thank you, because you were instrumental in my recovery. But I remember purchasing your strength training program, body weight program. So I did that.
Yeah.
And that did help me get back into it. And I do remember, after doing that, trying to then introduce weights, but then thinking, well, I used to do this, so I'll do this weight, and it ended up being too heavy. And I know you hurt your back, didn't you, doing, like, going in a bit too much. I didn't injure myself, like, for the long term, but I remember feeling extremely sore the next day, and I thought I've pushed myself too far. Like, my muscle soreness was ridiculous. Like, it lasted for a week.
Yeah.
So that kind of made me realize you're not you're not where you were before. You can't do the same things that you can before. But then I didn't want to do the same things that I did before either. It was almost like my devil on my shoulder trying to see if I still could do it. Mm-hmm. And then very quickly I realized that I couldn't. So I did a lot of body weight training, and then really I've just kept up lots and lots of walking. And like I say, I've only been back in a proper workout routine, I would say, since the start of lockdown. Lockdown, I feel, has been good for me. It's not been a stressful situation for me. I think there's two halves of people in lockdown, where some are very stressed with work and childcare and things, and others have had quite a nice time of it. And I'm the nice time of it kind of person, the kind of side. It's been relaxed. I've spent time with my son and my husband when he's home, and I've managed to have time to get into just a nice workout routine. And most of it's body weight as well, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So you have, found your routine again, but it's obviously different from the past. And this is important to know, that you can get back to your exercise. It's not that, it's impossible or you're going to mess things up. If you do it in a smart way, it's absolutely doable. You don't rush it, right? If you don't have, crazy expectations of what it should look like, what you should be able to lift, how fast you should be able to run. If you manage your own expectations and always put your health first, then you can totally get back to exercise.
Yeah, definitely. And actually I didn't even want to do it for a long time. For, I would say, probably about a year, I didn't even want to train. Apart from walk, I was really enjoying the walking, actually, and just being in the countryside and just fresh air. And that genuinely was my me time. Because running wasn't. Running was stressful, because I was constantly trying to have a faster pace or burn more calories or go further than I did yesterday. It was not a relaxing time at all.
Yeah, exactly.
But walking I just really love walking, and now I walk every day for my mental health. In fact, my husband said today, you need to go out for your walk today. You've not been for your walk today. So I think he sends me out so that he knows that once I've been for my walk.
Yeah.
And it's not an obsessive thing. It's not like I don't walk every day. If it's pouring with rain, I'm not going to go out just so I can tick a box. So for about a year, I didn't even really want to do anything. But then I did find myself, when I was training my clients, because in the meantime I qualified to become a PT, I did find myself saying, oh, I really should start training. I really should. And I didn't, because I think I was just feeling guilty saying I should. But the fact that I didn't meant I didn't really want to, if you know what I mean. And then when lockdown started, I thought, this is a good time to do it. And I've really enjoyed it.
Good.
And that's the key, I think, is when it's not stressful and it's not something that you make yourself do just for calories or...
Yeah, so good. So now it sounds like you have really found that balance with yourself right now, right? You don't stress too much about food. You don't stress about your weight or your workouts too much. So my question would be, if you now went back to this time when you saw this like first picture of you, like after having your baby, and you realized, okay, I want to get rid of this baby weight. Do you think that it could have been done in a really healthy way, just to reduce a little bit of this body fat, maybe just so that you feel a little bit more comfortable in your body? Could it have been done in a smart way?
Definitely. Yeah, because, and like I said earlier on, if you look, I've shown you my weight loss graph in my FitnessPal, and it's a rapid decline. It's a very steep line. So it shows how quickly that the weight came off. But I very quickly started replacing meals with smoothies and things like that. So I became quite obsessed quite quickly with calories. So definitely I know now as a PT, obviously, that it's calories in versus calories out. And you can lose weight gradually just by reducing 100 calories a day, and you don't even need to count calories. That's the thing as well. I think it's good to have an understanding of what goes into your body and what nutrition is in your food. So I don't think it's a bad idea to use MyFitnessPal, but not for 2 years.
And not so obsessively, right? And not like judging yourself for going over whatever these things are.
Yeah, like I would go for a run, maybe a 10-mile run, and say I don't even really know how much you burn on a 10-mile run now. Let's say I burn 1,200 calories or 1,600 calories. I would come home and just have a fruit smoothie.
Yeah.
So definitely refueling your body and realizing that your body just is it. Without it, you're nothing, obviously.
Yeah.
And just looking after it. And so yeah, definitely could have been done safer and more gradual. It
Right.
was quite quick.
Yeah. So as a personal trainer yourself, if you have a person who comes to you who wants to lose weight, because a lot of people do. So what do you do? I've heard like a lot of people who are like, no, weight loss is always a bad idea. Don't ever do that. This is a bad thing to recommend. But some people actually do feel better. So what is your approach if somebody comes to you with this goal? What do you do?
Well, I've had people who come to me and said, I want abs. And straight away I've told them the risk, especially if they're a female as well. And in fact, I don't think any men have ever come to me and said, I want to have abs. But if it's a female, I've said to them the risks of it, and how most of the time it's either unachievable or it's unsustainable. It's certainly unsustainable, without making massive lifestyle changes and massive sacrifices. So I do talk to them about the risks and things, and genuinely, a lot of people have come to me and said, I want abs. They don't really last very long anyway, because it's like I don't know, that it's not really a goal, is it? And I was talking to someone the other day about all of my clients at the moment. I've got a really important goal. So I've got one client who's a marathon runner, and she's training for London Marathon, and we trained all winter, we trained all into the new year, and then London Marathon was cancelled, but she's going to get back on her marathon training again, and she wants to hit a certain time. And another client wants to get into the ambulance service. So all of my clients have got really nice important goals. None of them really have weight loss goals. And one came to me saying that she wanted to lower her body fat so she could be qualified for IVF fertility treatment, and now she lost her body fat, she qualified, she got into the right BMI, and she's got her baby. And I just think that's the nicest thing, when someone comes to you with a real solid goal of something that's going to change their life, rather than abs is never going to change your life.
No, so true.
It's just not. And when you think of it that way, but comparing it with getting to a point where you can have IVF, because you have to be within a certain BMI range to be accepted for IVF in the UK. So if you think of it, that the end goal for me helping them is going to be a baby, it's amazing. Or my client, my male client who wants to be a paramedic, he's now got the job because we passed his fitness test.
Exactly.
It's absolutely brilliant. So really, when people come to me with, I want to lose weight, a lot of the time they don't really last, because it's not a real solid life goal that they've got.
No, these two are so awesome examples.
Yeah.
The guy and then the IVF. I didn't know that you actually have to qualify for IVF and have a certain weight. That's news to me. I don't know.
Yeah, in the UK, certainly you have to, an IVF's massively regulated here. It's not in some other countries. But you have to be below 30 BMI, and she wasn't, and now she's got her baby because she lost weight. And my client will absolutely smash her marathon as well. So
yeah, and so there definitely is some value in losing weight or losing body fat in a responsible way, right?
And they all wanted to lose weight. That's the thing. They all want to lose. A byproduct of wanting to get your ambulance job and wanting to run London Marathon and wanting to have a baby is actually losing weight. But it's a bigger goal than being a smaller number on a scale. Losing weight's a byproduct of getting to that end goal. So I think that's what people need to think about. What do you want to lose weight for? Just to look a certain way? Because I used to take pictures of my abs and put it on Instagram, but then as soon as I drop my t-shirt down again, I look the same as everybody else.
Right. So, yes, that's not really a valuable goal. I don't
not
think
really for an Instagram picture. And actually, my Instagram activity is like plummeted because I'm not taking pictures of my food. And taking pictures of my food was keeping me accountable to myself to not eat rubbish. Because I would never take a picture of a Chinese takeaway, for example, and put it on Instagram, because that wasn't.
It's kind of like an accountability thing. So I showed everybody that this is what I eat and this is what it's going to be. So I can't cheat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was never any cheat meals. I used to have fajitas without the wraps, without the tortillas.
Oh, so good. Oh my
Yeah.
God, such a big change. I'm so proud of you, like hearing these experiences and just like how brave you were, just taking the leap and into the unknown basically, and just trusting that, okay, I'm gonna have to do everything basically. I've got to do the opposite. I know what got me into this trouble. To get out of it, I have to do the complete opposite. And
Yeah.
just taking that step is so massive. And unfortunately, a lot of women never take that. They either don't admit that they have this problem, or they hope that they can somehow, without making any changes, recover from it or take a supplement. But the supplement is not going to do the trick. You have to change
Well,
your entire understanding about food and fitness and your own health, and really prioritize that.
and I think you have to be really honest with yourself as well, and just kind of let yourself see what you're doing to yourself, and be
Mm-hmm.
honest. If you're doing all these binges and you're purging, and up until a certain point you won't realize you're doing that, but once you realize there's something not quite right, you just have to be completely honest with yourself, because you are only cheating yourself if you're trying to justify your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And just try and see the bigger picture. It's bigger than, and I do realize that there's lots of dark places. Well, I'm sitting here and I'm talking to nearly 2 years down the line, and I'm actually forget some of the things that I used to do, but there are some really dark places as well. And actually, there, even as recent as last week, 2 weeks ago, there's some things because I knew I was coming on to the podcast and things, there's some things that I've told my husband that in the last week or two that I hadn't told him about my eating disorders and things like that. So there are some really dark places that you go to in this. So it's not as, I want people to know it's not as easy as a doctor said to me once, you just have to stop exercising and eat more.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that easy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted your listeners to know that, and I realize it's not just as simple as that. You don't just, it's harder than just eating
Yeah.
a pizza or eating. It's a mental mind shift, and you have to want to change for the rest of your life, not until you get your period back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so good. It has to be lasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and without the mindset, you can't do it, because otherwise, yeah, everybody knows that some pizza would get your calories up, and resting more will also, save you some calories. So yeah, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. Nobody would have this problem. But it's the mindset that we can't get over, these
Yeah.
old habits, and we still think that more is better and all that kind of mindset. So it has to really start in your head before it can happen in your physical body. Yeah.
And actually, for anyone that's thinking about going all in but they're frightened, yes, you will probably gain weight. That needs to happen anyway.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed over the last probably 4 to 6 months is that I've naturally lost weight. I have not got any restricted foods anymore. And there was a long list of restricted foods. And like I said, I was eating lots of safe foods that had barely any calories in them.
Mm-hmm.
My body is very much balanced out. My sleep is so much better. Well, not now that I've got my new puppy that I was telling you about before, but my sleep is so much better. My hair just doesn't fall out in as much as it did before. It's thicker, and I've actually just naturally lost weight, and my body is just balanced out because I think my metabolism is fixed. It's repaired itself. So for anyone that thinks they're going to get really big and put on lots and lots of body fat, and then that's going to be that way forever until they start exercising a lot again, it doesn't happen like that. Once your metabolism is fixed, I feel like I've just come to like an equilibrium where I'm just naturally balancing out. And it's a nice feeling, because then you're just, I feel like I've just naturally lost that excess body fat that I didn't need, but I'm not lean by any shape or form, but I'm just balancing out.
Yeah, so that's why it's so important to not like rush back into intense exercise as soon as you get your period and think, okay, I'm gonna get rid of this fat. Like, no, you have to give yourself some time to settle, right? And then, like you said, it either starts going away naturally, or if you want to make it a little bit faster, then you would never, just please nobody ever go like cut your calories by 500. This is just like the recipe for disaster. If you want to like speed it up a little bit, maybe very, very gradually start like, okay, 100 calories a day or less, you know, something like that. Very, very gradual approach. And it has to be like controlled. You have to check in with your symptoms all the time. Okay, is my sleep getting crappier again? Is my, you know, what all the signs that you used to have when you were overtrained. So is anything of these coming back? And if they are, then you just can't do it. Your body's not ready for any like intentional weight loss.
Yeah. And I would say as well, there's still some foods that trigger me a little bit. I don't think it ever completely goes away, but I just manage it. And I just have to say to myself, look, you know, just remind myself that it's just food. It's not anything bad. And it genuinely just makes for a much more relaxed, less stressful, happier lifestyle. It's very hard work to be an over-exerciser and a under-eater. It really takes a lot of your energy, and you don't replace your energy either. Much happier place to be on the other side. But it's quite a lot of hard work as well.
I agree.
Mentally.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Vicky, this has been so good. Thank you so much for being on. Is there anything that you want to add that we didn't mention yet before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I just want to say to your listeners that it's not to be frightened. It is frightening, but not to be frightened of repairing your body, because you can do it and you will come out the other side, and it's just a happier place to be. Hand on heart.
Good. All right. Thank you so much again for being here and sharing your experience and your knowledge with us. Can thank you enough. All right. Thanks, and have a good evening right there. It's evening right there?
It's 6 p.m.
6 p.m. All right. Yes. All right. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Balanced Vibes podcast. If you liked the episode, please subscribe and also leave a 5-star review on iTunes. For more about me, check out my website, urbanjane.co. Yes, that's CO and not com. And connect with me on Instagram, where my username is Kirsten Kimura. That's KERSTENKIMURA. Until next time.